Now, sometimes I'm often of the mind that Sony kind of gets away with whatever they want. So at the end of the day, when you see stuff like this, you sort of got to shake your head in agreement that, hey, maybe Sony really kind of got what they deserve here. This is one of the things that I've been saying for a long time, and it's like, why does it take this long for something this accurate to actually be said or done? Now, mind you, I think that PlayStation is a fine console. I think that it really is. They've done a really good job with it. They've kind of, copied some things along the way. But still, Sony has that brand. That PlayStation brand is always going to be a popular brand across the world. And it almost is like if Sony can do no wrong again. Now, again, they got in that sort of mindset with the PlayStation 2, and then look what happened with the PlayStation 3. Now, I'm not going to say, okay, well, look, the PlayStation 3 ended up surpassing the Xbox 360 by, a million or whatever, so it didn't matter. Well, I would say that it did matter, because when you go from owning the landscape and having like 90-some% of the install base to having to split the install base between people that you mopped the floor with the previous generation, it definitely hurt. Plus, lost $8 billion along the way. Oh, by the way. So, again, I think Sony is getting that extremely cocky attitude. I don't think that Jim Ryan is the right person to lead that team, but I also think that, it's one of those type of situations where, what else are you going to do? Jim Ryan is kind of entertaining to see and kind of happy to see, all these failings that are going on, the things that he's done, like, he's not very personable with the crowds, right? The fans. Like, we haven't seen a first-party showcase in over 2 years. They're not announcing stuff. He's raising prices left and right. He really kind of screwed over the VR crowd by not giving backwards compatibility. Just it goes on and on. So I'm not a big fan of his, but I want to get into this because this is crazy stuff, and about time that something was said. And, that's always an exciting thing. Can't wait to get into it. Let's go. I'm the Crap Gamer, and this is Crap Gamer Reviews, back with yet another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. Slap the hell out of that like button. Let's get it going. And, I'm looking for 100 likes on each of the videos that I do. Would be tremendous if that could happen. Now, look, Sony's been crying wolf to everybody lately, right? Oh, we can't compete. We won't be able to compete. It'll be terrible. We can't compete. We won't be able to. We can't compete, right? We've heard this time and time again. Oh, woe is us. We're the #1 game company with 80% share. But if Microsoft gets this, we can't compete, right? We can't compete. Call of Duty pays for our games, right? Like, yeah, that's basically my impersonation of what's going on. But now a U.S. senator says that Sony has a monopoly on high-end Japanese games market. So again, a new player has entered the never-ending saga of PlayStation and Microsoft and the proposed $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Senator Maria Cantwell, who represents the state of Washington, weighed in on the subject in a very interesting fashion. The senator made comments during a Senate Finance hearing on the president's 2023 trade policy, which were incredibly engaging. Senator Cantwell stated that she was told that Sony controls a monopoly of 98% of the high-end game market, yet Japan's government has allowed Sony to actually engage in blatant anti-competitive conduct through exclusive deals and payments to game publishers, establishing games that are among the most popular in Japan. This 98% is something that obviously hasn't been 100% fact-checked, and instead refers to Sony's adoption rates over Microsoft in Sony's home region of Japan, a revelation which really shouldn't come as that much of a surprise. But after accusing Japan's Federal Trade Commission of having failed to investigate this alleged exclusionary conduct properly, she asked U.S. Trade Representative, what do you think we can do to address these issues and create a level playing field? As Luke Plunkett over at Kotaku points out, it's ludicrous to suggest that Sony has some kind of monopoly on the Japanese game market, because Sony doesn't even have a 98% share of the God of War market, a series they own, since Steam is getting 30% of every sale on PC. So obviously these people don't know everything, but it is fair to point out that, is it relevant to Microsoft? Again, I think that it kind of goes without show that Sony does pay money to get a lot of the Japanese games specifically exclusively put on PlayStation, and is that a fair situation? I think that that's something that gamers are going to have to deal with, and we put up with a tremendous amount of the time, because it kind of is what it is. But there is a growing group of people in the US that like those type of games, and so therefore when we see that these games are all going to be on, you know, PlayStation, we kind of just there's not really much we can do, shake our head, I guess, and say, you know, hey, this is pretty crappy. But you know, it kind of just is what it is. But I for one think that it's interesting and something to talk about, because it is a situation like that. So imagine if Microsoft were buying up all the US branded games and, you know, trying to do that, and you might go, well, aren't they doing that with Call of Duty? No. I mean, think of how many games are made in the US, but what if they were buying all of them? What if they, Epic Games and EA, and you know what I'm saying, all those, then that would be equivalent to kind of what Sony is doing. So I do think that Sony was sort of rightly called out here. Nothing will ever come of it, you know, for whatever reason, but you know, at the end of the day, we will continue to see you know, a lot of fight between Microsoft and Sony, and again, you know, I love seeing the fact that, you know, Microsoft is fighting back. And again, we've already had the news and heard the news that, hey, you know what, we're going to be, it looks like this thing is going to pass over there in the UK, as it should have. It should have never been this much of an issue anyway. You know, it's just, it's crazy to think that that's sort of the case, and that's what's going on. Still to this day, I'm kind of shocked by the way people react a little bit with, you know, Microsoft shouldn't have been able to buy it. Like, what in the world? Shouldn't have been able to buy it? That's absolutely crazy to think about that. So, you know, honestly, I think that this is something that should have happened. And I don't even think it's the end of it for Microsoft. I think Microsoft is going to get many more studios. I don't think they're going to go after publishers, because this one was such a hassle, but it wouldn't surprise me at all for them to go after studios, make sure that, you know, they can stay afloat, and make sure that they can actually go out there and, you know, fight some of these other companies. You know, you got to be able to stay competitive, and, you know, that's the one thing that they have to be able to do. Say, hey, you know what? We're competitive. We're doing this thing. We're going to go out and make ourselves, you know, this or that. And that's exactly what they're doing. You got to love that. I love the fight anyway. I love seeing that that's exactly what's happening. And, you know, for me personally, it makes sense. You know, Microsoft is trying their best to go out there and kind of make things happen. So, yeah, love to see that happen. Love to see, you know, gamers and things like that kind of be excited again. And, you know, we are seeing people get excited, and that's a lovely thing. So please leave a like on the video if you are watching, if you enjoy the content, if there's some kind of content you would actually like to see. Would appreciate that very much, as it means a lot to me. You know, I'm trying to put in some hard work on these videos, and, you know, we'll see what happens. Maybe nothing. So, Crap Gamer out.